Hello, YouTube. I'm Jake from the Tree of Woe Show. I'm here to tell you about one man who cared so much about this business that he reviewed the greatest DVD ever to a different business. This is Justin's review of Thy Kingdom Come. So stay tuned as I lead you through this journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally time. Oh yes, in its glory. In its glory. Look at this face. Come on. Only one shirt that could be worn for this. End of an era. God, not you, God, and the devil. But not the devil in a bad way. It is just the devil to his God. So, part of the supper club, you know. We get to review this DVD. We don't have to. We get to. And Chase Oliver, 68. You call yourself Randy Orton #1 of this supper club, and if you're gonna, go ahead and boldly, I respect. You want to be everyone wants to be the top. I respect that, but you claim Randy Orton #1, and then you come on and talk about how times are hard and you can't muster up $20 to go buy the Triple H DVD. A, that should not be the case. B, you're a part of the supper club, son. You do not let those things known. Things like that will get you placed in the big show, I'm a whiny piece of shit club, Chase. Come on now. No crying about hard times, baby. Come on now. And then you're already, a little on the side of, hey now, let's keep that to ourselves here. And then you go on and you make a review that was 9 minutes and 30 seconds long. That is what's worse than a slap to the face. That is a kick to the balls to this DVD. And all I know is stay tuned. This video will be much, much longer than 9 minutes, as you can see down below. I don't even know how long it's going to go, but trust me, you can see the number down there. You're not disappointed. So hey, it's time. Let's get into this. Thy Kingdom Come. Disc 1 review. Disc 1 starts off, it's Triple H. He's growing up. It shows pictures of him as a little kid. He kind of looks like the little kid from Jumanji that gets the shit kicked out of him at the very first. But that's okay. Sometimes you look like the kid from Jumanji. And it's just showing that he was growing up, and one day his dad turned on the TV and he saw wrestling, and it was Chief Jay Strongbow, and he said, "That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do." So it shows his journey as he starts working. He's working out. He's doing bodybuilding because he wanted to look like those guys. And he ends up finally getting a shot. And all of a sudden, hey, Eric Bischoff, WCW's calling, and he's like, hey, in one of the best lines in the whole thing, he says, they offered me a 2-year deal, and I turned it down. I said, I only want 1, because they weren't paying me enough. And I said, at the end of 1 year, you'll either know I'm not worth it or I'm worth way more than that. And I said, boom, what a boss. Triple H, egomaniac from day 1. Started from the bottom, now we here. So that was awesome. And then it kind of just goes into chronicling his days in WCW. And all it showed. My favorite part was Ric Flair. So your last name's like Levesque, right? And he's like, it's Levesque. And he's like, okay, well, we think that's pretty cool, so we're going to make you Jean-Paul Levesque. And it just showed him going on to that. And having matches. And it was a good time. Jean-Paul Levesque, guys. Unfortunately, I didn't know about Jean-Paul Levesque until I saw this DVD. So thank God, literally, for Jean-Paul Levesque. And it just kind of shows how he was going into WCW, and it was this section of the DVD was showing that he was about ready to go, and he just had so much heart, man. He said he went to Vince and he said, hey, the reason I want to come to WWF more than WCW is because they're getting rid of the live show event sort of deal. And I want to work every day because I didn't get in this for the money. I want to be great, and I'm not going to be great wrestling 4 days a week or 2 days, whatever he said. And Vince said, hey, you're on board, boy. You're on board, boy. And that was the game's time in WCW was covered so well in this DVD. By God.
Man, it's just crazy how you can be settled up with a bad gimmick like John Paul with Beck and still find a way to get there. And I mean, who would have thought terrorizing would have become such a great star? Like, who would have thought Justin Triolosha would have become the #1 man in the entire YouTube wrestling community? I mean, he just cares about the business so much that you could just tell, and that's how he became the biggest guy in the business. Speaking of the business, coming up, he's going to talk to you more about how Triple H moved from one business to the next business. And that's the business.
The next part of the DVD we go on to, the days. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the birthplace of a name. This from here on out was, I knew, like, I honestly didn't know about the WCW stuff, but from here on out, this was up my alley. I knew about this stuff, so this was a grand old time. Talk about Hunter Hearst Helmsley doing his thing, just bowing to bitches. Hey, get your ass out of here. And he was talking about how he, it was, this was the part where Taker, I mean, you could see this guy, and terrible gimmick, but you could tell he had it going on. I was like, God damn it, Undertaker, I love you. So they touch on the Hunter Hearst Helmsley days, which were good. It is what it is. But then they start, let's start molding towards the other stuff. And then they start talking about how him and Shawn ended up wanting to bring Chyna into the thing. And Triple H was like, hey, if we need a bodyguard for me, what better than this big Amazon-looking chick? Like, who the hell is going to, who is going to not be super pissed that my bodyguard is a girl? Like, how's that not going to get over as one of the best things ever? And Vince is like, oh, well, I don't know, you can't have that. And him and Shawn are just pushing for it, like, come on. And he said it was finally Shane McMahon that went in and presented it to him and said, hey, you got to do this. WCW is going to sign her if you don't. Oh, P.S., let me go back to the first section. All I'm going to say is this. If you understand it, you're down with the game. If not, I'm sorry. Terra Rising. That's all. But yeah, so they said he finally goes for it. They bring Chyna in. She starts going crazy. It was a good time. I liked Chyna back in the day, and great idea, Triple H. Vince, he said that Vince told him that, hey, this is on you if it works out. If not, this is on you. So that was good to hear him talk about that. Then we go into the Mick Foley segment, which if you know Triple H, you know his Mick Foley, Cactus Jack Mankind. Whew, even Dude Love, Hunter Helmsley versus Dude Love. They had some matches, and they had some brutal matches. This is earlier in the time, not so much the, later retirement stuff or anything. But they did touch on the whole Mick Foley, Triple H situation, which, come on, guys. You put two guys like that together, it's a good time. Chronicled how he, beat him in the King of the Ring tournament, and he ended up becoming King of the Ring. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, King of the Ring, boys. So they were just pretty much talking about how, you gotta start going up. You know what I'm saying? You gotta start going up. After the curtain call happened, you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You gotta learn to eat plates and plates and plates of shit and like it, as he said. So it was good to see that he was starting to make that rise. The rise of God.
To one man, this may be a steel chair, but to anyone in the wrestling business, this is mankind. This is Cactus Jack. And to the people in the YouTube wrestling community, this is the major seat that you sit on when you film videos for this business. Now, Justin from Triolosha just talked to you about how Triple H made the bold jump from WCW to the vast pool of WWF. Now, what's next for the Triolosha is we might have to make that jump into WWF, but that'd be Justin because he is the leader. Just like Triple H became the leader of one faction that would forever change everything that needed to happen in that business. Just like the Schlag Daddy was the leader of every faction that this business, the YouTube wrestling community, has ever needed. That's a bow in honor of Hunter Helmsley. And this is in honor of the DX segment that is upcoming. So here comes Justin talking about DX.
Woo, this next section, baby. Oh my gosh, let me get it for you. D-Generation X. Oof. Woo. I love D-Generation X, so I love that they touched on this. Obviously, it's not like they weren't going to touch on it. I'm just saying, when it got there, I was like, oh, shit, you know what it is. So they touch on the early days of just Shawn and Triple H doing their thing. Going, just doing some wild shit, pulling their pants down, and, I'm just like, God, I forgot how much fun this was as a little kid, and just, I don't have to explain to you all the visuals that they were showing of all the segments, the State of the Union type stuff, where I will not say burr, 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 or burr, and Shawn just, oh, or like I already said, pulling their pants down or doing stuff like this. Great time. But then it touches on the fact when Shawn had to go away, and that he talked about how they wanted to pull the plug almost. They didn't think that he could do it himself. He's not Shawn. I mean, he's good, but he's not Shawn. He can't do this by himself. And he said, hey, let me take the ball and try to run with it. So that this is when he starts assembling, the fellas, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, making the new DX sort of thing, and talking about how they didn't miss a beat. Let's be honest, they didn't miss a beat, and that's not saying anything against Shawn Michaels. It's just that it's funny to hear someone in a DVD say Triple H wasn't enough. That's like saying God can't do something. Well, fuck you then, business, is what he said. Here I go. So he puts them all together. The invasion of WCW. Gotta love it. Still classic to this day. However many years later. I mean, this just showed Triple H starting to blossom into the guy that we know today. Because earlier on, you're like, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, that's a cool guy. That's not God. He had not been, he had not gifted himself yet. So you could kind of start to see, oh, here we go. DX doing their thing, the leader. And then it touches on one of my favorite, literally growing up, one of my favorite feuds was DX versus Nation of Domination. And they touch on this, which is really good. They have DX, the jokester group of the Attitude Era. You got the Nation, the more serious toned kind of thing, you know what I mean? And just the way they clashed was awesome. The Croc just was in the bathroom. You should smell what the Croc was cooking. That's just good stuff. And just X-Pac, just Mark Henry'd up, Mizark, DX and the Nation. Those are just some good times. And then it talked about how, these two leaders in, Triple H and The Rock, they would get together, and it was like, damn, like this is you could feel like this is the next generation of shit going on here. So, that was good stuff. That was really good stuff. Yeah, DX versus Nation, such a good time. Glad they went into it because it was important. It was Triple H's, I guess it was his first major feud as the leader of DX after Shawn left, because I'm pretty sure that's just where it went. So good segment. A lot of DX in this little section, and what more can you say, man? Suck it.
There had never been anyone in the history of the wrestling business with so much attitude than Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Just like there had never been someone in the YouTube wrestling community and this business that we care about so much than Justin and the Triple Show. He has more attitude than all other YouTubers combined. But when he comes up against a man like The Rock, how will he respond? Will he rise to the occasion, or will he fall? And when Triple H fights against The Rock, will he rise to the occasion, or will he fall? Do you know about this business? Do you know how this business works? In this business, you have to rise. And believe me, we are rising here at the Trio Ball Show. We are rising in this review.
And then we move on. We move on to the crowning of the game. It talks about how Triple H, he knew it was time. He knew it was time, and he had to become champion, and he did become champion. Triple H, the champion. And we knew it was going to happen. And you know how we knew it was going to happen? Because he's God. Did it just happen once? Fuck no. No. One time. So I liked that it was, again, just chronicling his uprise. He's coming. And then you got, this is finally when they touch on the birthplace of the whole McMahon-Helmsley situation, where they talk about, what am I talking about? They talk about the on-screen one. You know, they touch on, that was so funny. I didn't know that they had nothing planned for that Stephanie Test wedding, and all of a sudden Triple H said, what if I get her really drunk and then I drive her through a Las Vegas thing? And I'm like, perfect. Thank you, God, for your wisdom. So I didn't even know that was all Triple H's idea, so that's awesome. And they touch on how him and Stephanie were trying, Vince didn't really want him to, then it was okay, then it wasn't okay. Triple H just stayed talking shit in the locker room. This is one of those situations where it's like a junior high. Everyone starts talking shit, and I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. So yeah, that was a good time. They start touching on the thing about how not only was it on screen, but it was starting to, turn into a real life situation. Which, hey, how could you? I don't blame you, Steph. He is God. So that was that was a good time. I just loved how he was talking crap on everybody. And then they chronicle his feud with The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, from SummerSlam ladder matches to later on world title matches. Like, it was these two guys. You look at that. You look at that SummerSlam card. Two of those matches were Triple H versus The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Undertaker. Think about those four guys for a second and realize, what would it like? That doesn't happen. Like, that was an IC title match. Like, if you can find a card, I actually challenge you to do this. More so not because I don't think you can, but more so because I'm interested. Find me a card where the four dudes, like, find any pay-per-view since then, where the two dudes in the IC title match and the two dudes in the world title match are anywhere close to those four. You're not going to, because those are four of the biggest dudes in the business. So yeah, it talks about The Rock. Oh man, just good times. The Rock and Triple H, they just knew what they were doing. They had good matches, It's God, it's The Rock, it's Dwayne "Rock" Johnson, God Helmsley. Come on, guys.
So, what happens when you put God and The Rock in one ring? Greatness, which is what the Supper Club is. Schlag Daddy is The Rock, or he is God and Justin is The Rock, or is there something else out there? What will come next after a man conquers everything that he had dreamed for since he was a kid? 2,000 subscribers for the Tree of Woe show. Triple H gets the W. The Rock is out of the picture. What's next? You just gotta find out what happens when one man gets so much power.
The next part is a very sad moment in my heart, but it gets happier in the next two sections. But the quad injury, they show it. It's disgusting to this day. It's absolutely gross. He had to live like a hermit. Couldn't do shit, but he did everything because he needed the business. It just, in all seriousness, guys, the dedication of this man, to be where he was, just living life, and then just to go all the way down to the dumps again, and to have just the will to just work all the way back, no matter what it took. That's awesome. That's awesome. In serious, come on. And the way it showed him working out, and it showed the build up to his return, and how he had a real moment. He's like, I was at Raw and I saw the promo for Triple H Returns, and I'm thinking that commercial break was the longest thing of my life, but at the same time, to me, it couldn't last long enough because I was nervous. Am I going to go out there and hear crickets? And I said, the hell you talking about, man? Am I going to hear crickets? You're Triple H. He goes out there, the crowd goes wild, and I was like, you acting like you were going to hear crickets. Crickets. But, yeah, so that was funny. And all the way back, that was just cool. All the way back from his injury. And speaking of what I was talking about, the happier times, in this section, they also talk about the formation of Evolution, one of my favorite factions of all time. You know, he said, hey, just let me get together with Ric Flair, because Ric Flair's going through some stuff right now. Let us try to mold these two dudes into future stars, you know, with us by their sides, you know, where I can still do stuff, Flair can still kind of do stuff. So it's not just like we'll only be talking figures, we can get physical and stuff too. And that's where they introduced Batista and Randall. Oh, Randall Keith Orton! Woo! Well, great times. And they just, you know, it shows their rise. And Randy Orton talking about how if he would, you know, he's like, I was kind of a dick back in the day. And Triple H would come to me and be like, Randy, no, don't do that shit. And I was like, attaboy, Triple H. So it was, I always loved Evolution, so it was good to see, you know, those guys talking about it and Triple H talking about it and just seeing how it all kind of came together. And then they end up touching on the return of DX, in the more PG era. And I really like this segment because they touched on how, you know, it was PG, and also Shawn Michaels is born again, so they kind of couldn't do all. So they showed kind of some of the segments where he's like, Shawn, isn't that Mr. Fuji? Go over there. And then the two girls like flash the dude, and then Shawn comes back. I wasn't Mr. Fuji. And they were talking about how it was so funny. They're like, all these super smart wrestling fans, you know, they know everything, but they got pissed at us for coming back as DX because we were trying to be too cool. And they're both like, not being able to see somehow that was kind of the point, is we were making fun of the fact that we did get older. How'd you let that one slip by you? You know, smart ass guys. I'm like, oh my god, they're steady talking shit. I love it. It's just bangers of segments, and this one was no different at all.
Talking about power trips, man. The two-man power trip. The injury that silenced him for so long. He tore his quad off the bone. Justin has sinusitis, and he's filming this review. That's heart. That's dedication. You guys just don't realize how much these guys care about this business. This business has done nothing but bring so much pain and so much glory to both these men. And what else is there to do? But when you have the world to share the world, to evolve, it's a mystery sometimes why 2,000 people subscribe to the Free Low Show. Why Justin is the number 2 guy in the Supper Club. 1B, some might say. I might say. I don't know. It's tough. He's going for that number 1 spot, and you have to be in this business. This business is cutthroat, man. There's only so much time in the day for people to watch reviews on YouTube. You have to evolve, and Evolution has been a mystery. Just like this next part of this review, where Justin goes deep down and talks about the thing most fond to his heart, other than this business and God.
The next segment, man. Again, talking about how he was injured again, torn down, had to get rebuilt up. When I say only, I mean only. This is perfection. The only thing I would change about this DVD is they would have the promo of Beautiful Day as he worked his way back to the top. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But they just, they touch on that injury, and then they go into a whole chapter on Randy Orton. Yes, this is what was intended. This is what was intended. They go into, the Triple H Randy Orton feud, which was one of the more personal ones. You got punting Vince, punting Shane, RKO and Steph, DDTing Steph from the rope, and then kissing her as Triple H is over there handcuffed. And they were saying Triple H was on SmackDown at the time, and then he came back over to Raw when all this stuff started happening. And this was a crazy time because it was the point where even though a lot of people knew that Triple H and Steph were married in real life, this is the first time they brought it publicly, their real lives to the screen. So it was like a weird mesh of like, oh yeah, they're really married, but are they? Like, is this all just gonna work? It was that whole kind of thing, and then it builds up. Fighting in the house and all the stuff, and then they built up to Mania, and that I loved that segment. They were talking about Mania, and they're like, "We're watching Shawn and Taker out there, and this is like these dudes are kicking ass." And Triple H is like, "They came back to the back," and I'm like, "Oh, good job, guys, good job. You tore the house down." And really, I'm thinking, "Fuck, we gotta go follow that." And they also touched on that Triple H Orton match, which makes so much sense. He's like, "We built this personal feud that's been dragged out forever. It's involved." Family and this and that, and then this should have been a street fight to settle all things, and all of a sudden they make the stipulation that if Triple H gets counted out or DQ'd, Orton gets the title. So Triple H is like, we get this match. This should be this big war, and we have to keep it to a strict wrestling match. And he's like, especially following Taker Shawn, that crowd was done. I've been to 2 Manias. I can attest. When a crowd's done, Like. It takes, if you don't believe me, go watch WrestleMania 29, Brock Lesnar versus Triple H. I mean, that match wasn't the best thing of all time by any means, but they were doing some brutal stuff, and it took like 10 minutes in before, even me, I'm like, Taker Punk, you're kicked our ass. But, so it was just funny to hear them talking. Orton's like, I liked it. I mean, crowd reaction, no, we had a good time. And then they start going into, it's kind of towards the tail end of, we're catching up to like real time. And he basically talks about how the movie side of it, all I'm going to say is, who's ready for some field tripping? God, that was a great line. Wish I would have came with that line myself. Great line. But yeah, they touch on the Chaperone and all the bangers that Triple H put out his movies. But he said, hey, but I love this business too much to do that. This business.
You gotta sometimes. After you evolve, you must fall. And that was when we missed that Raw review. You guys missed out. But after that, you rise. And then you fight Randy Orton. This man, in one of the most heartfelt. You guys don't feel me saying this because I'm not saying it with enough passion. The most heartfelt storyline in years. Women were getting punched in the face. Guys, without God, there would be no Randy Orton. Just like without this business, there would be none of us. You guys wouldn't know Justin, the greatest man to step foot onto your screens, onto your computer screens. This business will never be the same. When you're recovering from sinusitis and you rebuild, you come back better than ever. You drop the best review of Thy Kingdom Come in YouTube history. And that's just what you have to do. And sometimes you gotta go to the heart. You gotta talk about what means the most. Just like this next segment, you'll talk about what means the most to him. Randy, Randall, the Keith, Orton, the Apex Predator, the Viper, the man, the myth, the legend, the man who stole your girlfriend and did not apologize, but instead sent you a picture, a Snapchat even, of him getting in on top of this wooden horse. He poops his bags. He cares so much about this business. Randy Orton, inside the King of Kings documentary. No one else is qualified to talk about this than Randy Orton. Just like no one else in this business that is YouTube is qualified enough to talk about this. This business will never be the same. Just keep rocking back and forth, thinking everything's the same. And everything will change. And one man will go and reform one of the greatest things of all time. That's coming up. That's coming up in 2 segments. The next segment is pure Randy Orton and God.
The next segment, I've been doing 3 chapters to a segment so far. This one gets its own. Right here, The Undertaker. Been with him from the first. He said the Undertaker was the one that finally told him, you know what? If you're going to marry the boss's daughter, there's going to be an asterisk by your career. You're going to have to work twice as hard to earn everything you want to get. But at the same time, fuck what everyone else thinks. You know what I mean? Just do your thing. If it's there, it's there. Don't worry about what anyone says. Just do your thing. The Undertaker, I loved hearing the Undertaker in this. Like it was great. It really was. He had some really good insight, and they start talking about how after 25 against Orton, and then they have 26. He was facing Orton during the Shawn Michaels Undertaker stuff, and then they go on at 26, have the retirement match, and then at 27, they're like, hey, how about you two? Just 2 icons from the past, just going against each other. He retired your best friend. When they show the highlights of when they both returned the same night. That was awesome. They talk about how they went ahead and had those 2 matches, and how 27, which was the first WrestleMania that we watched live once we started getting back into it, and they showed that match and how it ended, and it was like the dude that lost is walking out, he's fine, and the guy that won has to be stretchered out. So they were building the story there up until the next one at 28, the end of an era in a Hell in a Cell. Man, I wish I would have been there. So yeah, they build up to where they brought back Shawn as like a full circle thing, and then they brought the Cell down just to add the extra. Oh man, I loved that shit. Oh, I loved that shit. They show highlights from that match, the super kick to the pedigree. There's just so much stuff, and they just talk about how important those matches were for both their careers. The Undertaker, he needs credible dudes. It's Triple H. You know what I mean? It was a good time, and I just love hearing those 2 talk about it, because I loved those matches. 28 more than 27, but I like 27 just fine. And probably because I was there too, that doesn't hurt. But I just like hearing these 2 dudes talk about this kind of stuff. Like I love professional wrestling. I would love this business, and I just love hearing people, talk about their experiences. I just really like that. That's why I like these DVDs so much, because you get their perspective. Like we've seen all these things. We have all our own opinions. Then to hear what was going into it and what they really. That's my favorite part about these things. These DVDs is the documentary, obviously, because they have matches on there, but we've seen most of the matches. It's cool to see them again, but it's like I just like hearing what they think about the stuff they're doing, what their peers are doing. So yeah, the Undertaker segment was awesome. Love that stuff, especially when you get Taker. You don't hear Taker breaking character very much, so it was a good added thing to hear him talk about this feud.
Every now and again, in this business, you find the jelly to your peanut butter. You find the Louise to your Thelma. You find the ebony to your ivory. You find the devil to your God. You find what you're looking for in the YouTube wrestling business. This is Tyson 22 right here. I'm sitting on a stair set. He's been our Undertaker. Think about it. Take a second. But in Thy Kingdom Come, there's a moment that will forever change my heart and Justin's heart when we talk about the end of an era. Because he was there when the era ended. Just look at his t-shirt. His t-shirt will tell the story of 15 years in this business for each person in the ring. All the heartache, all the triumph. That business. And this business, we've been in this business for over 2 years now. We're going on 2.5. That's so long in YouTube world, man. We're still relevant. We're more relevant. He's still more relevant. But How will his era end? How will Justin from the Trio Show's era end? Hopefully. In our hearts, we hope it ends like this era. The era that ended at WrestleMania 27 in Miami. 27 is not where it ended. That's where it began. And it takes me a second to think about it. Because in my heart, as an Undertaker fan, that's where it ended. Because in WrestleMania 27, Undertaker was not the one walking out triumphant. It was the man who walked with broken quads who walked out triumphant. The toughest man to ever be in this business. Just like Justin, the toughest man in the YouTube business. Out here filming reviews of that Kingdom Come with sinusitis. The era must end, just like this review must end. We're coming up to the end here, guys. But don't be sad, because there's still more to this business. Just look at Justin's t-shirt and be reminded of that WrestleMania 28 day. The best day.
It's that time, ladies and gentlemen. Time to become the COO. We knew it had to come someday. Can't wrestle forever. So in honor, I had to put the more business-like shirt on. Not too business, because I'm still the game man. Just like Triple H. But, just to let you know that it was time to move on to a new frontier. Chief Operating Officer. It shows how, he's already shown the initiative for the younger talent, He's down at the Performance Center. He's down at FCW. He's down at NXT. Throughout all the things it's been called. Everything it needs to be. Just working with the young guys, making sure the future of this business is where it needs to be. And he's doing a good job. And I have no doubt that we're in a good place. It ends with him talking about how, people talking about how much he cares about this business. And just, it was such a glorious occasion, you guys. Just talk about how we're in such good hands because he knows what he's doing. At some point, Vince will retire, and it will be on Triple H. I'm not sad about that day whatsoever.
Words cannot express Justin's passion talking about The Undertaker and Triple H. Just like Triple H's passion for the future of this business. It's like our passion, his passion, Justin's passion for the future of this business. This business will be nowhere without the help of the younger superstars. The guys out there who are going to be the future of this business that will carry us forward. Triple H cares about the future. Justin cares about the future. That's what the Supper Club is. It's finding people who lack direction, like Chase Oliver and Mitch from the Wrestling Geniuses. Wait, Wrestling Jesus was Marco Rose, but he needs direction too because I haven't seen him for a while. And Mitch Smith, the Wrestling Gurus, and the Gurus of Greatness. Oh man, I laugh because of what he once was and what he could be. The Schlag Daddy and Off the Rope show of what they once were and what it will be when he rises to the mountaintop with Justin leading the horse as the Schlag Daddy sits in the carriage. Just like WWE when Bo Dallas rises to the top with Triple H sitting there driving the horse and Bo Dallas sitting there in the carriage. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day, you might say. An end of an era had already happened, but the next era might be better than anything we'd ever expected.
The thing about this DVD that is different than most DVDs, most DVDs have a couple people talking on them. Punk had like Cabana and all. Yeah, a couple guys. Triple H, he had the who's who of interviews. Are you kidding me? This was the best DVD of all time. Just in the last segment. Do you want me to list you off some of the names in just the last segment? Not even counting the whole DVD. That talk about how crucial Triple H was and is to this business. The Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Randy Orton, John Cena, Jim Ross, Brock Lesnar. Guys, he loves this business, and I love this business. And we as the Supper Club will make sure that this business goes where it needs to go from now until the foreseeable future. So I hope you enjoyed this journey. Thy kingdom hath come, and thy kingdom must go. But I hope you enjoyed the road getting here. This is your time. Join the revolution. Supper Club. Schlag Daddy TV, Chase Oliver 68, Mitch from the Wrestling Gurus, Marvelous Mark, all of us. This is our time. And you all enjoy the ride. Let's go, baby. Come with us on the ride. Again, hope you've enjoyed this review of Triple H Thy Kingdom Come DVD. Go get it. Not even kidding. Go get it. Go watch it. You'll love it. I love it. If I had a water bottle right now, water spit. But I don't. I've moved on past those days. So just pretend I have a water bottle. I did the water spit.
So this business is in great hands. Both businesses are in great hands. About the best hands you possibly could ever draw up. But there's one thing about this business that even people inside this business just don't get about this business. And this business means more to people like me and people like Justin and people like Triple H than anyone could possibly imagine. But sometimes when you care about something so much as I care about this business, you have to let it go. Hope you've all been entertained and you appreciate our business. Click that subscribe button for more about this business. But all good things must come to an end. And with that, I must bid adieu to everyone who subscribes and who hasn't subscribed and who's watching this video because it's ridiculously long. We appreciate everything you've done for this business. This business would be nowhere without everyone involved in this business. So, from everyone in this business, to my business colleague, Justin from the Trio Low Show, the business of the Trio Low Show, this is Jake. I'm signing out. Take care. Spike your hair. Woo, woo, woo. You know it.